All right, good day, everyone. My name is Ghislain. I'm with Arvi, and today we are going to talk about recruitment and how to build a player team. So, first and foremost, good day.
Good day.
Yeah. So, I want to go deep, well, dive in into your past a little bit. So, you currently founded a company called HR Recruitment, but I want to know before, how did like you wanted to start that?
Okay, yeah. So my name's Harvey. I'm from the UK, and I went to Australia as a kid. As I was younger, always wanted to go to Australia when I was a little boy. So I ended up going there when I was at the age of 18, traveling. I fell in love with the country and what the country had to offer, and I saw a real shortage in the labor market.
Nice.
So my initial idea was to move people from the UK because people want to move from the UK to Australia. It's funny how history sort of works, how we
Yeah.
send all of our prisoners there and now we want to go there, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
totally.
so the idea was to move people from the UK and help with that skills shortage in Australia. Turns out it's not as easy as that. So now we just recruit people that are already in Australia for those roles that we have available.
Okay.
Going forward, we are looking to go into America now, UAE as well as on the cards. So there's a lot of growth. Like we're only a young company, but we are growing very quickly. Recruitment's an old industry, and we're just modernizing it. And I'm a young guy in the game, and I'm just modernizing the industry, I suppose.
Yeah, I love it. Ambitions. It's very important. So a little bit maybe about your education. So from my understanding, you went in Australia when you were young, and after that, what about school?
Yeah, so I went to school in the UK. I went for an apprenticeship in the UK.
Okay,
I've come from an electrical background myself,
okay,
so that helps me in the industries that I work in. So I recruit within the electrical, HVAC, plumbing, and
okay, I
fire
see.
space at the moment. That's what my team recruits for. I don't do so much of the frontline recruitment so much now, but the way that we hire is we hire electricians and then they recruit for electricians. So that's our sort of process. So they've got the industry knowledge and they understand what our clients and candidates want. But we like to have people with industry knowledge recruit within those industries. But my education is just I went through secondary school in the UK, done my apprenticeship, come from the
Okay.
tradie background, and now I recruit tradies.
Yeah, I love it. It's a very good start to actually get into the recruitment.
Yeah.
And you've identified a problem that your industry had, and then you are now solving it. Awesome. This is great. So, HJ recruitment now, because I know you are building a software
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
So, can you talk a little bit about the software part of recruitment? Because we know in the recruitment it's very like human connections in
Yeah.
general,
Yeah.
very about like recruitment, building relationships, and then putting people in specific position. But you're going towards a different approach.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the relationships are still there. Like we do a lot of that. It's still a sort of physical business in that sense. But I have a co-founder called Gabe. I'm CEO, he's CTO.
Hmm.
And with that, we're two opposite skill sets. So I'm very much front end. Gabe does a lot more on the dev side or more on the software side. So he can tell you a little bit more on that in a separate conversation.
Hmm.
But the software that we're building is just it's gonna increase our efficiency. So we find it recruitment is a very old industry and we're just modernizing the process, we might have one candidate that's suitable for five different roles. We might put that same candidate out for five different roles, give that candidate the best opportunity to get the best role. Um, and then in that process, we can send an email out to five different people. The email template's already there. We've got AI integration with it as well, where
Okay.
we can send 10 different text messages off 10 different phones at 10 different times, where this candidate thinks it's like 10 different people's messaging, but it's on the same person connected to a master phone. We've got emails going out. We message them on LinkedIn. We message them on emails. There's so many different levels to it. Instead of
Hmm.
us just going through and cold calling, we can send them off all these different platforms. Hey, we've got a job available. Hey, how are you going? So it's different. it's different messaging with each
Okay.
one of these things. So it's, hey, we've got a role. Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you at work at the moment? So it's different messaging and getting through to that person in a way that's best. And we have all these notes attached with each one of the candidates, and the AI learns so much about that person because we've got all these notes attached to it. So the AI makes it as personal to them to get the inbound candidates in a shortage, like a candidate shortage market.
How are the candidates responding to this form of automation?
Yeah, like they would never know.
They would never
You would
know.
never know. It's from an O 04 and from an O 04 number, which in Australia O 04 is the mobile number.
Okay.
It'll be from an email. It might be from a Gmail. Like there's all this different stuff that we add to it from LinkedIn as well. There's so many different levels of communication,
Mm-hmm.
and then once it gets to a certain point and the AI doesn't know how to respond, it flags the candidate, and we can just call the candidate, look at the previous conversations. We've got the candidate, brilliant. Let's make sure that candidate's definitely suitable for this role. If it is, and we would know because our consultants come from the industry, they understand HVAC, they understand plumbing or
Mm-hmm.
fire or whatever their designated industry are. They know if that's a good candidate, and then they put that candidate forward. But it's a big data game, so we're just collecting a lot of
Yeah.
data at the moment, and we take resumes off of Seek, we take them off of LinkedIn, references, referrals, and we're just building out this big database at the moment. And the more emails, the more phone numbers, the more names we have, the more people that we can reach out to via text, via emails, via phone calls. So for one available position, we might have 1,000 available candidates, and then we're ultimately screening through 1,000 candidates and putting the best people forward for the best roles. So it's competitive on the candidate side and it's competitive on the client side. We want to get the candidate the best role possible for them, and on the client side, we want to make sure we put a suitable candidate
Mm-hmm.
forward for their role and make sure that candidate is the best suited candidate for their role, because we effectively have a monopoly. We effectively have all the candidates in that suitable area for that suitable industry, and we're in contact with everyone in that specific area.
I love that. So one of the things that you've mentioned is you actually have some consultants helping you to build this platform, build this database. So you have like
Yeah,
people that are experts really helping
yeah.
you and giving you some insights that you may not have.
Yeah. So at the moment, like our consultants will go through their download resumes off of Seek. They will call through referrals. They will call through references, and these people get added into the system. So, and then like the consultant is building that relationship with them over time. It might be addressed from the consultant. There's different sort of levels to it and different outreach methods that we do use, but we trial everything
Okay.
and make sure what we're doing works best. Different people have different outreach sort of approaches. I went through this thing the other day. It's called Insights, and you understand different people's colors. I come with a leading red. I get straight to the point. I nail it down. But other people might lead with a leading green, for example. So they want to know. So whereas me, I just want to know why you're calling.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas someone else was like, oh, you haven't even asked how my day's going. I don't want to talk to you. So it's different approaches for different people. So it's just finding that approach that works best for that person.
Okay, perfect. And you're getting the insight from the consultant. And I presume in the screening process, those are questions that you're asking, like
Yeah.
what is your background, where did you grow up, and those type of questions really help you to profile the candidates and put some AI into how you should communicate to that
Yeah,
person.
exactly. So the main objective at the moment is we work in a candidate shortage market. So there's a
Okay.
shortage of candidates. So it's getting the interested candidates in the door. So now we've got the interested candidates, and for any one role, we may have 20 interested candidates or 100, depending on how easy the role is to fill. If it's an easier role to fill, then we might have 500 candidates. And we would know because we come from the industry, and then the client can then effectively interview these three people and then choose if they want to hire them or not. If they don't want to hire them, that's their obligation. They don't have to do that. We work on a contingency basis.
Okay.
So if they don't want to hire that candidate, they don't have to. And we've just effectively done that work for free because we work on the fact that if we make a placement, we get paid. If we don't make a placement, we don't get paid.
Nice. So let's talk a little bit about the other side of the recruitment. So I have a business, let's say, and I go on your platform, or do I contact you directly if I'm looking for
Yeah.
specific type of candidates to
Yeah.
fill some
Yeah.
positions?
So the software isn't client facing, so it's
Okay.
more back end, so it's for us to use. So it makes our job a lot easier as a consultant. We've got a lot more inbound candidates. We can send emails out easier. We can book it in the calendar a lot easier. It's just a lot of simple tasks that could be off different softwares. Originally, it could have been off 5 different softwares. It's
Mm-hmm.
now on one. It's all there. It's really, really easy to use, and it knows the next step, and the messages will already be there. Oh, do you want to send this email attached to this? Oh, you haven't attached the resume. Oh, let's custom edit the resume. It's already edited. You don't have to go through and edit it. You just have to approve the edited resume, make sure it's fine. But yeah, it's not client facing at the moment.
Okay.
But sorry, I forgot what the original question was. I
Well,
went off a bit.
if I have a business and I want to start using your company for the recruitment
Yeah.
of my company, so I wanted to know, do I have to contact you, or do I have to contact an individuals, or you just mentioned you don't have the client facing for the candidate, but do you have it for the person who's looking to recruit those people? How is that relationship going right now, and maybe your vision for the future
Yeah,
of that?
I mean, by all means, like how we get clients is like we use multiple different things at the moment. So we optimize SEO.
Okay.
There's a lot more that we can automate that we can systemize at the moment, but we haven't really got round to it. But LinkedIn automation may be one.
Okay.
There's a big email integration that we can add, but we haven't got round to adding yet. But
Okay.
is something we will be doing. But we do email marketing. That is one thing that we do. And then, however, our business is structured where we've got our consultants and then we've got our business development managers, and it's very separate. And then with that, the business developers bring on the work. So then they might reach out to a company. Hey, we've got this candidate. Would you be interested in interviewing them? There's no charge. And obviously, if we don't make a placement, we don't charge a fee.
Yeah.
And then with that, we will bring on that client. Yes, I'm interested. We're actually looking for someone. This is the spec. The business developments would then hand off that client to our consultant. This is the spec. Run them through exactly the process, where the conversation's been, how this client wants to be spoken to, what their leading color is. Is it a yellow? Is it a green? You know, like yellow's more energetic, green is a little bit more like, how you doing? You know, I really want you to fill me in that sense.
Okay.
And then they hand it over to the consultants, and then from there, the consultants will then build that relationship with the client, get to understand exactly what they want. And then from there, we can start putting the right candidates in front of them. But ideally, we want to digest the company, digest a little bit more about them, what their future plans are for growth and everything like that, and how we can really help. We tend to sort of stick away from the fact that we're an agency. It's more the fact that we can come into a company and really partner with them, and how can
Okay.
we really help the company grow.
That's actually a very important point, because, like, from what I've seen, most of the companies don't necessarily have an HR department, and they kind of, there are so many options that most of them don't even know which one to choose. And I think one of the conversation we had earlier was the fact that it's important to have a partner when you are trying to scale a team, especially if you don't yet have an HR department.
It's exactly the same. It's like I use Gabe because he's a specialist in what he does.
Mm-hmm.
But for me to do Gabe's job, we would have effectively grown so much slower. So that's why people use recruitment agencies, because we specialize in what we do. So if you leave us to do what we do, we can find you the best talent. However, if you want to go find the best talent yourself, that's completely fine. And by all means, if you can't afford a recruitment agency, then that's fine. But it's going to take you a long period of time to find the right talent. You're not going to know the methods to do it properly. And
Yep.
effectively, we've spent millions on building out data where you haven't got that data. We're speaking to every candidate in this industry already. If they go to your company anyway, we're going to know they've gone to your company.
Totally. So to your point, like, one of the issue that I'm having is the fact that it's just faster for me to do the job myself and never think about recruitment when it's actually part of like the main part of my job to recruit a player. But instead I just focus on building, doing the work myself. And essentially I'm now, let's say, 5 years down the road, and I still haven't hired like a proper individuals to really help me do all this.
Yeah, and how I found it is like, yeah, I'm good at sales, you know, like I am good at sales. That's what I do. That's my background. However, I come from the electrical background, so I know
Mm-hmm.
the electrical industry. However, we're in HVAC as well in a few different industries. Fuck, why don't I hire an ex-electrician that is also good at sales and do what I do, and then I can focus on other stuff that might be a more leverageable skill. But even the fact that when I did make that hire, that person's probably better than what I would be anyway, because he might have 10 plus years sales experience and 5 years in the electrical industry, where I only had maybe 5 in the electrical industry and 5 in sales, you know? So it's like they've got that experience and you can leverage off of that. And now it gives me the opportunity to work on skills that are really going to grow the business. And it's that saying it's enabled me to go from working in my business to now on my business. And when you're doing tasks that allow you to focus on your business, that's where the business really grows.
I love that. Yeah, it's so true. So now let's go inside more. Just have a recruitment conversation, like a little bit outside of HJ recruitment, but more around your knowledge of recruitment. So I want to know, depending on the size of the company, what are the key differences on how a company should hire if you're, let's say, a startup or a small company versus a large corporation that already has maybe 100 different employees?
Yeah, well, first off, different size companies have a different amount of money. Like
Mm-hmm.
a smaller company might not have the recruitment budget. Someone that might be doing $100,000 a year can't spend $10,000, $20,000 on going for a recruitment agency when they've got to
Totally.
fork out the money to actually hire that person in the first place. You know, maybe they can take a loan and do it properly, you know, but taking that loan is still a risk. So when you're a small company, you want to grow as organically as you can. You only want to grow when that is organic, you know, and you ideally want to speak to your network and hire through your network and do it that way and try and do it the best you can. But when you're a business and you're a one-man band, for example, the first hire you're going to make is going to be bad anyway because you don't know what you're going to be doing. So there's no point doing it for a recruitment agency because you don't even know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
But ideally, in that sense that you are a small business owner, I would just interview as many people as you can because then you'll learn. And then from like how I learn if I want to hire a software dev, I don't know anything about software, but I might interview 100 people, but by the 100th person, I know so much about software dev now because they tell me, I ask them the right questions. I already know now what a good software dev looks like if I interview that many people. So as a startup, I would interview as many people as you can because hiring is expensive. It wastes a lot of time, and the difference between an A player and a person that isn't so much an A player might be 10 times, you know? Like I know within sales, are someone that we bring into the company that might be bad may cost us 25, 30 grand, and then the person that's really good may earn us a shit ton of money, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the difference, and they're going to be way like it's going the difference is priceless, you know. But that's for a small company. For a big company, well, I'd say for a medium-sized company, you have different sort of funnels. So you have content, advertisement, outreach, and hire recruiter. I would say
Okay.
for a medium-sized company, content isn't really an option. Advertisement it's a good funnel to get people in the door, but people need to want to work for your company. If there's no factors of why I'd want to go and work for your company, there's no point even advertising because you've got to pay above 20% the market rate, because if you don't, you're not going to have the best people. And realistically, most of the people that our A players are already in work because they're already looked after. So that leaves you with outreach. So you can outreach to these A players yourself. but do you have the database to do that? So effectively, there's a little bit of a bias because I come from a recruitment agency, but I would always say hire a recruiter. But that can just be one of the ways that you have a funnel. You know, you could do through advertisement, you could do your own outreach yourself, you could do doing the content as well, and then you could use a recruiter. But you don't even have to pay that recruiter if they don't place someone within your company. So you work on a contingency basis and do it that way. So that's the way. They're the different funnels I would use. But effectively, you want to reach out to as many people as you can, because if you reach out to 100 different people and you've got the 1 in 100, you've got effectively got a 1% person. But if you only have 5 inbound candidates and you interview off the 5, you know, and it's a gut feeling, like you've got a 1 in 5 candidate that may be a 20% candidate, not a 1% candidate, you know? So that's the difference. And then when you're a big company as well, a lot of big companies do is they step away from the hiring a bit, but you really want to make sure you're involved, you know, because where the company's going is through the company vision. You've really got to drive that and the new talent you're bringing on board. But one of the big factors that big companies make is their hiring process is a little bit dragged out, whereas talent doesn't want to wait 5 weeks to start for a company. They're available and they're being spoken to by 20 different companies, 20 different people who are interested in them. The person that gets to that person first is going to be the person that brings on that talent. But if we're waiting 5 weeks to send something out through internal HR, speaking to this person, it's a little bit dragged out. So you need to still make sure you do it very quick. There is examples of big companies doing this hiring process quick, but this is what we recommend, just as quick as possible. If you speak to them on the Friday, you really like them, you need to make sure this is definitely the person for you, because if they're available, they're on the market. On the Friday, they're looking at all the job boards, applying for all the different roles, being reached out to by different recruiters. We need to get this letter of offer out on the Friday. They're all for your company, so you need to make sure their doors are closed, and then they're all for you. And by the time Monday comes along and they've had time to think about it, and you've had time for it to marinate in your head as well, Monday, yes, I accept this offer, and then brilliant, now you've got that person come and start for you. But in the interview process as well, you've really got to sell yourself and sell the company, because at the end of the day, if you want that A player, then you've got to sell yourself to them as well. You know, they've got to have a reason to want to come and work for you, and that can be through the company vision, the company culture, different aspects. But it would be understanding what their pain point is, why they're not happy with where they are, and seeing if your company is a solution for that. And if it is, then you really need to push on that pain point, because that's where they're going to want to come over to your company.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's very important for any company to advertise on their website their mission and vision. Yes, it's for recruitment, but also for your customers, for your suppliers, really for everybody that is in your ecosystem. Having the mission and vision is extremely important.
Yeah, exactly. And like if you're being approached by a recruiter and they're like, come and work for this company, that person's going to do their own research into that company as well. And if they see the website looks like shit, the LinkedIn looks like shit, they're not going to want to come and work for you. But if your website looks like the culture looks good, the LinkedIn, everyone's laughing, you go to the pub all together, that type of thing, people want to go work for those companies. Yeah, it might not be a drinking culture, then that's fine. It might be a work from home culture, but highlight that. If you're a work from home company, highlight that, because people want the flexibility. People want to work for a work from home company, and there might be different aspects. What is it that you offer? Why would that person come and work for you?
Yeah, super important. One of the things that you actually mentioned is when you are recruiting, you want to interview as many candidates as possible
Yeah,
to become an
100%.
expert. In one of the keynotes, one of the things that was said is if you want to hire a CMO, for example, go prior to the interviewing process, talk to another CMO for that person to give you access to the key questions, or at least what you should look for into the interview process. And after that, you just pass through a lot of candidates, and you, like, normally the A player are really going to stand out because there are so little candidates that, yes, they will go outside of the hundreds that you have interviewed.
Yeah, exactly.
So now we talked about the size of the company. What about the industry of the company? Like, is, let's say, an agriculture company is going to recruit differently than a technology or a
Yeah.
software company?
Yeah. So it's different. So, for example, we're a work from home company.
Hmm.
If you're work from home, you have access to a huge talent pool, you know? We work from home, so we can effectively hire people in the UK if we wanted to. We can effectively hire people in Sydney or
Hmm.
in Perth, in Darwin. Like we have a huge candidate pool now, so we can interview people from all over the world. So, for example, if I have an office, it's hard for me to interview someone that might be over 45 minutes away because they've got to actually come into work, they've got to go back from work, so it's a different recruitment process because we've got access to a huge data pool, and that's our one of our unique selling points is we're a work from home company. We're in Bali at the moment. If you want to come and work from Bali, come to my company, because we offer that. We've actually got a team that are from Australia. They may live in Sydney, they may live in Perth, but we've got 6 members of the team here in Bali at the moment. They're all working from here. They're like, oh, Harvey's working from Bali at the moment. Let me try that.
Nice.
So they're here in Bali. They're working from Bali as well. And then that's something that we offer. But
So on this, do you see the time zone that may create some challenge? Let's
yes,
say
yeah,
I want to
yeah.
work for you, but I want to stay in Mexico,
Yeah,
in
yeah. So,
Cancun.
so, so that's a little bit of an issue. Generally, if you're recruiting in Perth, you have to stay on that time zone. You can't just go to India because it doesn't really work. And like you've got to have the phone set up so it recognizes an Australian number. You don't want it calling in as a plus four. It's like a +63 number calling
Hmm.
from Indonesia. You don't want that.
But
Um,
what about voice over IP as a technology
yeah,
for doing that
Yeah,
part?
maybe, but like it's not efficient for them to be in India waking up at maybe not 6 in the morning, maybe 2 in the morning to do that work. It's not very efficient. We want them to either be in Perth, be on that time zone, but they have the flexibility to travel,
Hmm.
but we still may have those client meetings in those cities where they
Yeah.
would need to travel.
So going back to recruitment in general. So let's say I want to hire a software engineer, for example, or just a developer that could potentially do the work at night. Then in that case, the time zone may not be that much of an issue. So when you hire,
Yeah,
like depending on the type or
yeah,
the
yeah,
role that
yeah,
you hire, yeah, the time zone will be different,
yeah,
especially like
yeah,
work from home, obviously.
yeah.
But if it's only a physical job, like let's say plumbing, well,
Yeah, exactly. So if it's plumbing, obviously you're gonna have to be in that city, depending on where the work is. If it's a software dev, they've got the flexibility just as long as they're logging everything properly,
mhm,
they can be in Bulgaria, and then
yeah,
we can pay the Bulgarian rates
okay,
to the Bulgarian developer instead of maybe the Australian rates that an Australian developer may want 6 grand a month, where the one in Bulgaria or Romania may want $1,000 a month.
okay.
So it's a slight differentiation
That
there.
that's actually very interesting what you're mentioning. Um, as the, let's say, a company that wants to hire, normally I would just put a fixed rate, right? I want to hire a developer. I'm willing to pay, let's say, $30 an hour for this role. Um, on your end, will you change this amount based on the country of the person,
Yeah.
or you're just going to open this position to anyone regardless of the
No,
country?
definitely change per person. So we're actually going through the process of hiring a software dev at the moment
Okay.
for the softwares that we're building. And we actually use recruiters coming from a recruitment industry. I understand the need for recruiters. So, but we're actually hiring in India for a software dev. India's
Okay.
got the best reputation for software developers in the world. Just as long as that language barrier doesn't become a
Correct.
problem, then it's good. And obviously, it's more effective for us paying those rates than it would be Australia, for example. And obviously, if they do work hard, then we can reward them. And then obviously in India, they may be earning a lot more than those Indian rates would normally be. But yeah, it gives we will hire a recruiter to hire for a developer in India just because they've got that database already. Whereas if we just stick up an ad, it will be completely different, you know. But we will just advertise for the rates that are suitable in those areas for a developer. But we obviously will pay 20% more so we can attract the best talent.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. Can we talk maybe a bit about, let's say I have an agencies or I have yeah, an agency, because we know agencies are essentially selling uh, people's time. So normally, I think agency, if I'm not mistaken, they would mostly go offshore, try to find some talent, and then sell the time of that individuals to another time zone. Um, what if I, let's say, want to build an agency? I want to be full time, and I would only want to have the best of the best to build the A player team. How would that go as a, yeah, as an agency? How do
Yeah.
you see that happening?
Yeah, it depends what the agency is in. Is it a work from home? Are you working from an office? What's the
So
situation?
I would say it doesn't matter because there are okay, yeah, I kind of get what where you're going. So let's build modern agency that are selling creatives, for example, where I don't see the time barrier as an issue.
Right. Okay. Okay. So effectively, if you want to bring on clients, it's going to have to be someone that understands, if you're in a Western country, the Western language, and they're going to have to be on that time zone to get through to these people, and they
Hmm.
need to understand the lingo. Because if you hire an Indian to then sell content or creatives to someone in England, they're not going to get banter, you know? They're going to realize this is an Indian or whoever or Pakistani calling me on the phone, and then that person in the UK will just end the phone. So,
It's a very
in
good point.
in that sense, you have to have someone from the UK calling through, someone that gets the mojo, someone that really understands what they're selling, and they have to sort of understand that creative, you know? So yeah, it has to really be someone that understands that. They still have to be on that time zone as a sense. They can still do that work from home. I would really incentivize. So if they do really well, then reward them commission. It makes people work harder. There's a lot to do with management, not just
Hmm.
attracting the right talent, because people need to work for you at the same time. So they've got to feel valued, that type of thing as well. And it's a lot more than just hiring the right talent. It's really making them feel appreciated, treating them properly, that type of stuff as well, and creating the best systems for them to do a really good job as well. But generally, on the creative side of things, where are the best creatives? You know, where do they come from?
Yeah.
Maybe in that example, India may have a really good reputation, so you can outsource a lot of work to India and find the best talent that way, set up proper systems, because generally these people may not have the right education a lot
Yeah.
of the time. So they're not saying their IQ may be lower, but their education is lower. So they're not going to understand the system. So it needs to be very systemized. And then it's like, submit this is the next stage, this is the next stage. And it has to be very organized. And you don't want it very messy, because effectively, if you just hire people from India because they're cheaper, they haven't got that education, and you really need it very systemized for them.
Yeah.
Because if it's not systemized, you may as well hire someone in the same country that understands the industry, understands everything that you're talking about, and that language barrier isn't there. But effectively, I would go for a recruiter, hire properly, offer their database, and the fees, recruitment fees through those countries will be a lot less than it would be as well in Australia or the UK or America or somewhere like that as
Yeah.
well.
So I had an experience when I wanted to hire like my first dev. I
Mm,
actually went on Indeed, and they were people from India because I guess they were the cheaper at the time, and I just wanted to experience, right? So I actually posted exactly what I wanted, and in my mind, like it was extremely clear what I wanted. But then whenever I got the result, it was totally the opposite of what I was expecting. And at the end, I just figured that they didn't understood anything about my business model or anything about how the user would use a feature that I ask. So
Yeah.
Um,
So I think that comes with letting them explain to you your business model, you explain it to them, your business model, and like if they're coming on board, they've really got to understand your business and they've really
mhm.
got to understand where you're going as a company and clear expectations from the start, because if you don't set those expectations, they're going to push limits everywhere. So you need to set these expectations. If you don't meet these expectations, unfortunately, this isn't going to work out, and then move on to the next one, because you might make, especially when it's your first hire, you're probably going to do it wrong. So you
Mhm.
might make the mistake 5 times, but all of a sudden you're like, fuck, okay, I'm on my fifth hire. I've got someone that's really good, and you want to learn how to retain them and actually keep them, because that's, you can attract the right talent, but you actually want to retain the talent as well. So it's different.
So, what would be some insights about how a company should retain those individuals that they were able to attract?
Yeah, well, I would pay better. Like
Okay.
one would be pay. They've got to go on Seek and see, or go on Indeed and be like, fuck, this company is the best company. They pay the best. They treat people the best. And respect your people. You've got to really make them feel involved. If they're doing a good job, tell them. If they're not doing a good job, give them the feedback.
Hmm.
Because if I don't get the feedback from my guys, I don't know if I'm doing a bad job, but I always ask for my feedback. I always give them the positive feedback, always be transparent and get them involved. Our company evolves so much from our consultants and our BDMs, because they give us that feedback. Like maybe we could change this, maybe we could change the fees, or maybe we could change the approach on how we outreach to clients. Maybe we could change the outreach on how we get candidates. But if they don't say it, we don't know. But we encourage that feedback. And as soon as we get that feedback and we implement it, they're like, fuck, that's something that I done in this business and I changed it. And we don't see anyone in our company as employees. We don't see them like that. We don't see them as workers or people like that. They come in the business and this is their business as well. This is their baby as well. Everyone in our team is a co-founder.
Yep.
Like, and we give them the progression. As soon as that person's leveled out and there's no more progression, they're like, it's human nature to always want to do better. So if there's no progression and it just pillars out, what's the point?
Yep.
And like, they want to always be building, they want to constantly be improving. And if they're not constantly wanting to improve, and if they're not constantly building and they're not giving you the feedback anyway, they're probably not for your company anyway. So you really want to get rid of those people anyway.
Nice. There's also one thing, all this is very true, and that also applies to the leader because those people, a player will follow the leader. They want to be part of the journey with the leader. They
Yeah,
want to follow the vision and the mission, as we
yeah,
mentioned
yeah,
earlier. So, if you as a leader, you're starting to lack certain qualities and your team is starting to outgrow you, I think they are more likely to start following somebody else and go on to another vision or mission.
yeah,
So all this, I would say,
yeah,
applies also extremely well towards the
yeah,
leader.
yeah. You as a leader set the tone and you want to be likable. No one wants to work for someone that they don't like.
Correct, yeah, correct. Um, let's go a little bit about the interview process.
Hmm.
So I would say, obviously, depending on the job, it's always very different what type of questions are going to ask. But what would be, what should an employer look for into an individuals if they would like to hire somebody?
Yeah. So first off, like your interview's got to have structure. You want to
Hmm.
know about the person beforehand. The more personable you can be, the better you are in the interview, because they're like, oh, he really knows me. And like, don't forget, you're selling yourself to that individual as
Yeah.
well. That individual's also selling themselves to you. So like, it depends on the position. So if it's a software dev, they tend to be a lot more introverted or autistic in that sense. Like, not that autism's a bad thing, but a lot of devs are autistic,
Hmm.
and that's a thing that we look for when we're hiring them, because they come from a creative background. They're very creative, but it's different in different senses. But you want someone that's really hardworking. So, like, you will know when someone's hardworking, and that's one of the key things that we look for. Are they coachable? So we want to make sure
Yes.
someone's really coachable. Give them feedback for something. If they take that on, then you know they're coachable. Um, You can tell a lot by the questions they ask you as well. So if they're asking questions, they feel engaged, they're asking the right types of questions, then that's always a good sign as well. But there's different steps we do to our interview as well. So in terms of sales, we want someone that's hardworking, someone that's coachable, someone that's younger as well. Typically people that are younger and people that are in a position where they have to make it work. So for our salespeople, they have to make this work. They have to earn a lot of money because they got a mortgage to pay, they got kids to look after, they've got a shopping addiction, something like that, you know. So
They want nice car, nice car, nice
exactly. So
things, nice
when
clothes.
it's a salesperson, it's money hungry, that type of thing as well. But generally, someone that's hardworking, coachable. But yeah,
Yeah, I like the aspect around coachable because part of my experience, what I've seen is it takes between 3 and 6 months to really ensure that the person that you hire fully understand your business model, the culture of the company, and really what the job that they need to do is about.
yeah,
So the aspect around coachable, I feel, is
yeah.
extremely important.
Yeah, we also add another element to our hiring process, and we've just done this recently. So we sat a test insights, the colors I was mentioning earlier.
Hmm.
So our sales reps, one of the two things that we highlighted. So for our managers, the colors were blue, red, and I believe it was green. I'm not too sure if it definitely was green, but I believe it was blue, red, and green.
Okay.
We're and they were the colors for our managers, and then the colors for the top sales guys was red and yellow.
Yeah.
So someone that's straight to the point, but someone that's super energetic at the same time. So they don't waste any time, but they're super friendly. So it's just like very energetic, but they're straight to the point. So that's another thing that we've added to our hiring process. So
Okay.
anyone that we hire, we will ask these questions, make sure they're right, and obviously we interview a lot of people, make sure we found the right person. So we interview maybe 100 people. Through that, then we narrow it down to maybe 10 people. From there, then we narrow it down to 3 people. Okay, brilliant. Now we've picked these 3 people. Can we put these 3 people through the test? And then 2 people don't hit the test properly, and then one does. That's the person we're going to hire because we've spoken to 100 different people. We've backed it up with a test,
Hmm.
and as well, I get someone else's opinion. It's not just my opinion; I get someone else's opinion on it as well. And this whole process shouldn't take longer than 2 days. You know, so we get it done and we do it very quickly. You know, and it's like a new sale coming through the door. So if you've got a new sale coming in the door, are you going to wait a week for them to come? Are you going to wait a week to reach out to them? It's the same with someone applies to your ad or a recruiter sends you a CV, something like that. No, we contact them straight away and we do the process within 2 days, you know? And
Yeah.
it feels better in their head as well because it hasn't been waited on, it's been done smooth, you know, something about this just feels right, you know? So it's that sort of sense as well.
I like that. So now let's go a little bit around AI. Okay, so we know AI is pretty much a topic of the day now, it's everywhere. So, how do you see AI being part of the recruitment process, like as a macro view? So, me as a recruiter going through your platform or through your service, how will AI guide me towards recruiting the perfect A player for my team?
Yeah. So, uh, internally within our company, it's just gonna, our consultants, our BDMs are always still gonna be there, but
Hmm.
a lot of their job gets automated, gets systemized. Some of the outreach gets systemized, you know, so it gets more and more efficient. And then the recruiters can be doing their jobs that still need the human relationship, the manipulation side of things, a lot of that. I'm not saying that
Okay.
we manipulate people. It's more just like we need to understand people. We need to
Hmm.
find their pain points and put them into a position that really is best suited. Whereas AI can't drill on those pain points. It's just a yes or no. It's not very open ended. Potentially gets to that point in the future. Who knows? But you can screen through lots of candidates quickly.
Mm-hmm.
That's a thing you can do, and you can set up the systems when you do have applicants come through. You can screen through them very quickly. So when you're having a large people apply through job boards and stuff like that, it works. But AI can never do the outreach and stuff like that. But it will be able to screen people through
Mm-hmm.
through resumes that you have, that type of thing. Maybe match certain people to certain jobs automatically based off their resumes, and just flag certain people to certain roles. We can call them, see if that person's definitely suitable, see if that person's even interested.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we've got this role. We think you're going to be suitable for this role, and that may be like an AI match, something like that. You know, the industry's always changing. We're ahead with AI at the moment, so these are just new things that I'm sort of making up on the spot here.
Yeah,
But you know, like who knows where it's going to be in 3 years? Like the industry is changing so quickly, but as a whole, recruitment is a very old industry. Me and Gabe are very much on the front end of making it a lot more modern.
mm-hmm.
But ultimately, you still need to build these relationships with clients, with candidates, and if everyone has access to this AI, there's still going to be a competition for the top talent, you know?
Totally. And the top talents normally they are seeking relationship with individual, not necessarily with machines.
Yeah,
So I can see that as well. The AI having some limitation around the recruitment process because of the importance around human relationship. So maybe touch base a little bit on future features that you guys are going to be building in the sense that where do you see the future of recruitment?
so not so much on what we're building, but I do believe labor hire and temp will be fully automated through AI, and I really
Mm-hmm.
do believe that because it's only a short period. You know, people only want people for a week; they just want someone in and someone gone, and it's same with the actual candidates as well. They only want to work somewhere for a week, or they only want to work somewhere for a month. You know, it's very much like it doesn't have to be the perfect candidate. They just need to be able to do the job. They don't need to be
Yeah.
a top class player. They just need to be able to do the job. But in terms of permanent placements, this will never be automated. I really don't think so. I think there'll be aspects of it that will be. And obviously, with new ChatGPT models coming out every single month, it's making it easier and easier for us to evolve.
Yeah.
But the whole permanent side of things, I don't think will ever be replaced in that sense. But we're just staying ahead. You know,
I like that.
with every single model that comes out, we're just staying ahead.
And for those models, I think one of the key that is crucial is the data, and you are really
Yeah,
putting the data as a main piece for your business
yeah,
development. So the more data you collect, the more performing the AIs that you will use
exactly.
internally are going to be.
Yeah,
And after that, developing their human relationships. I guess I can compare that to the last mile in distribution. So most of it can be automated, but the last mile, there's still like a lot of pain and some things that you cannot
yeah,
automate.
yeah.
Um,
So you guys are looking to minimize your headcount at the moment. In what ways are you doing that?
so on my end, what we're doing is putting a lot of effort into automation. So this is for me in my industry, AI, like we're already seeing what Amazon is doing and what others are doing. Like technology of automation around warehouses is already there, right? So now it's just a matter of doing a smooth transition by being extremely respectful to all the employees that we have, because at the end of the day, we're servicing humans. Like we want to ensure jobs are staying,
Mm,
right? So, um, but in terms of like let's say administrative process, everything is evolving a lot. So if you look at let's say accounting, before that we used to receive checks. So checks needed to ensure, okay, is it going to pass in the bank? And then yes it is, now enter it into the system. So nowadays the customer just go online, pays his invoice and then goes into our accounting system and then it's being out. So there's a lot of things that technology are really enabling
mm,
and allowing us to just transfer what people are doing. Like the type of job is really, really changing. I think an example of that is around marketing. So back in the days, marketing, the way that would happen was mostly word to mouth or going to convention. Nowadays, everything is digital. So the type of persona that you need in a company to do those jobs is really not the same as it is today. So it's important to identify what are the jobs that are going to be relevant in the next 5 years, what are the jobs that won't be,
Yeah.
and then to ensure a transition plans towards, hey, this is where your job is going, this is where I need you to go, and ensure that they follow the vision and the mission of the company.
Yeah.
To go back to what we were saying initially.
Yeah, for sure. And I think AI will definitely take a lot of jobs away, but I also think it will create a lot of new jobs as well. And strategically, we're positioning ourselves in markets where there still is a need for those people. You know, we're not going into potentially drivers, for example. You know, everyone knows that Teslas create these cars that drive themselves. So probably in the next 5 years, there'll be taxis driving people around and big trucks driving loads of gold or copper or whatever the case be around the
Yeah.
back of Australia, and it'd be a robot driving, you know, so that's definitely here. So we're not going into industries like that as such. It's more just industries where you still need a need. So a lot of electricians, a lot of plumbers, people like that, they're going to be needed. I'm going to feel very hard for them to replace plumbers in the next
Oh,
sort of
yeah.
10 years. And as well, this is an industry where a shortage is continuing, you know, so it's like less and less people going into an apprenticeship for blue collar roles, and it just is an increasing demand. So we're just focusing on that at the moment and coming up with problems that we can solve that in the same sense as well.
Love that. Harvey, thank you very much for this knowledge that you shared to everyone. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and see you next time.
See you next time.